something a bit bigger. A Syke GP80 water pump, diesel powered, and it's very big. Well, compared to some of the things I work on, this is quite big. Weighs about half a ton, but it's on wheels, which is nice. Yeah, came from an auction, a company that had gone bankrupt and closed down, and I bid on a bunch of stuff, and it's pretty much all I won that was of any interest. I've not really paid much for it. Doesn't really mean it's a bargain though, although I think the price I paid is probably scrap value at this point. It looks quite nice. It's got a modern, well, modern-ish, as modern as they come, Lister diesel. I think they've stopped making engines now, so this is probably one of the last ones they made. I'm relatively familiar with it because the design's very similar to the yellow bush dumper that I fixed up. We've got a panel here that says it's done 50,000 hours, pretty much. That's a lot. It's got a few positions: on, glow, and start. There's no battery in it. It looks okay. It's a bit of a beast. It's a 4-inch pump with what appears to be, I think, 3-inch connectors for whatever reason. This is a belt-driven vacuum pump, which will suck on that bit, and there's obviously something in there that I don't understand, but essentially that means this is a self-priming pump. So you can put the suction hose in some water, start the pump, the vacuum pump will create a vacuum in the suction line and suck the water up until it starts to get into the actual pump and go, and it's a self-priming, re-priming, so if the water goes down, this can keep running, and then when the water comes back up, it will suck it again, is my understanding. It's quite a chunky bit of kit. I mean, every bit on it is solid and cast. I can't see anything obviously wrong, so I'm hoping this is going to be a nice, simple, just get it going. And nice, will it start? Alright, first job needs a battery. I've already noticed that the battery is missing. Not surprising. It doesn't look like it's been used in a while. The battery connections are a bit scuzzy. And that one's definitely had something melt off of it. This one I noticed has a wire that doesn't go anywhere. Apart from that, I don't really know anything. So let's get a battery on it, just see what it does. Oh, it does have fuel. These are the fuel tanks, I think. And they appear to be connected together by this bar there, because this is the fuel pump, and the inlet of the fuel pump comes from that piece of box section, and then that's the spill off from the top here, from the injector. So yeah, let's try something really simple. Battery, see what it does. Oh, that, I need to have a look at that as well. That appears to be a what is it? I thought it was an engine speed meter, but actually it's an hour counter. That's interesting, because that says 640 hours. I wonder how it works. I think it works on vibration. I think it's got a battery in it. Oh, yeah, I thought it was a rev counter at first glance. That's interesting. I'll see if I can get the back off it and see if that's meant to have a battery in it. Work out how that works. I imagine that might be wrong if someone's just left it on. And I did notice as well, leaving off position when off. Much like that yellow dumper I had, you can leave the key on. It's not doing anything. The only thing that's turned on is the hour meter. So that could be part of the problem. So it might not be 40,000 hours. It could be 600. That'd be nice. Other things I've noticed on this, this says it's for engine oil, and it only has outlets that go to the vacuum pump, so that's got a constant oil supply. They really do consume the oil when they're running. They use the oil as part of their mechanism to create the vacuum. We have a battery thrown on. It's not very big, but it looks like the one that was on there probably wasn't much bigger, to be honest. See what it does. So that's moving, a little counter. So the hour meter works, albeit it's loose as anything. So we've got a glow position and a go position. Well, that sounds like the solenoid on the starter, but nothing else. Let's have a look. The starter's back here. This is the battery positive cable, and I'm going to say that I think that is going to be, that one there is going to be the start connection. Right, well that's knocking the solenoid in, nothing else. That's your negative. To there. And the positive would get switched through to that one and to the motor there. So if I short these two out with a screwdriver, it will crank if this is any good. Yep, sorry. It's not even making starting noises, is it? Okay. Let's check the engine isn't seized. Let's do that. Okay, there's sort of some like chicken wire stuff over this, so you hit your fingers in there. I've just pulled that off. And in there, I can't really show you, there you go. Engine turns over really freely. So it's not seized, so it's the starter. Let's get the starter off. Right, it's on the bench. 3 nuts and it comes off. The top one was a bit of an idiot because the stud goes through and actually touches that. So you have to wind the nut off slightly, move the starter, wind the nut off slightly, move the starter, but it's off. I won't do a whole video on this. This is the same starter by the looks of things as the one on the Will It Start bush dumper that I did. And I stripped the starter on that then. So I'll record any interesting bits, but I'm just going to open it up and have a look and see if anything's completely knackered in it. I'm going to suggest this has been wet. My first clue was when this top bolt came out, all rusty. And that's come off and everything's just like fallen out of it. So, yeah, let's see if this is even salvageable. I'm going to try and get this plate off and just see if it turns or if it's in any way salvageable. But at the moment, it looks pretty bad. So I think it's quite clear corrosion was the problem. There's the brush plate. Awful. Here's the bit that it sits in, and it's got all this corrosion built up in it. I thought I was going to have to buy a new starter, and they're about 150 quid. I don't know if the engine works yet. However, on eBay, I found this. They're still available. I think it's probably a Chinese copy. It came with that, some bolts to secure it. I've had a little compare and it is the same. The only difference is the brushes are slightly wider. So if I compare that with this one. Oh, hang on, sorry. Ever so slightly wider. I don't think it's going to matter. Does mean, however, that I've got to solder these ones in, and I can't reuse those, which is a shame because there's loads of life left in them, barely worn. But I'm going to have to solder them there. It's a bit of a shame. This was 12 quid, so if it gets it going for 12 quid, I'm well happy. Right, I'll get to trying to take these off and solder those on. Not sure how yet. I'll work it out. Check that we can make that work. With a washer, yes. Yeah. So I don't actually know if these are soldered on there, because that's copper with copper. So I wonder if that's like welded. I suspect it is. What I'm going to do is try and clean this up, solder the new one onto it. I'm assuming that works. I'll cut the old one off. I don't want to cut it off in case somehow I need to reuse it. Right, now there's two of these. Right, they are joined together, and this one and that one, they look like they were separate. So well, they are separate on this one. Well, try and do it on one side. We do it at an angle. Let's just check that I'm not going to cause myself an issue. No, looks like there should be plenty of room. That's not going to restrict anything. See if this soldering iron can even get hot enough. Yeah, there's tins on there nicely. If that's the right word, I think it is. Get a bit of solder on this one too. Put that somewhere. Here's the old brush plate. There it is. There we go. And then what I should be able to do is heat this and hold that on there. Hold the iron on there for as long as possible. I've got to get it hot all the way down. I've only put some solder on. That's not gone anywhere, but it does help transfer the heat quicker. Get anywhere? No. You know it's hot enough when you can melt the solder on the thing you're trying to solder together. At the moment, the only thing that will melt the solder is the iron and the solder around it. There we go. Now I've managed to actually get some solder onto the original material. Hold it on, take the iron away. There we go. And just deal with the fact that I've set fire to the paper insulator. Well, they're on. I don't know how successful that'll be. Oh, we've made a thorough mess of that and set fire to the insulator a little bit, but that was the only one that was left anyway. I'm not going to try and clean it out too much in there. I'm genuinely worried about causing more damage. I'm going to try and clean the magnets off because they've got rust on them, and so is the rotor. I'm going to get a wire brush in there, maybe a better one than that, and try and clean that out. There's a slightly better one. Just clean out down there. And there's the rotor, which is also really rusty. I think just a wire brush. That catching them? What's that? Ooh. Goes the other way, doesn't it? I think that'll be alright. Let's just got all its bits and bobs in. and clean this up. Hopefully just with a bit of this. Ooh, that's coming up really nice. Only a bit of Scotch-Brite. There's no wear on it either. Oh, I reckon this thing was put somewhere where it was meant to empty water. It ran out of fuel or whatever, and it got flooded. And then someone didn't dry it out. Oh, that is awful there, isn't it? Let's clean that. The square one went on first, and the insulating one. We'll put a tiny bit, there's a bush in there, we'll put a tiny bit of grease in there. So there's a label here, and that was bottom right of the device, so I reckon it goes that way-ish. So put that down that way round. That means these bolt holes here have to line up with those. It must go in something like that. Now I need to get these brushes in there with those springs, and I don't actually know how you do that. I'm thinking a screwdriver, lever the spring out. So these springs were what I was looking for when I found this plate, because on the other one, these springs disintegrated when I touched them. There we go, brush in, spring behind. Ooh. So that fell out the vise and smashed my new motor brush plate. Hopefully that survived. Everything seems okay on it. Let's try and fix that. How annoying. It's not actually broken, it's just it pulled the rivets out of that. So I'm going to try and put that back. Well, it's something. Let's try it. I'll try again without smashing it this time. This has to go on, and I think that goes under there like that. Looks right, doesn't it? I think, well, it was that one and then that one. Whatever that's worth. And then or do you do it first? Do you put that in, and then that, and that goes the other way up? Well, I think a quick test right now wouldn't go amiss. Try to do something. Well, it kind of did something. We just finished building. So, I can't actually remember what order I need to put things together in. It's a bit of a bugger. So, well, I'll have to just work it out. Now, I know which way around that goes. Definitely goes that way. And I can see that it needs a bit of grace. It does actually have a way round, and the bumpy out bit goes to the front of the starter. Well, that's how it came out. I mean, it could be wrong. I've got the Bendix gear, goes on there, and that's pushed in and out by that. And we've got the solenoid. Now, as I said, can't remember what order everything went in. So let's work it out. Or let's just try and do it all at once, maybe. I wonder if we put that on there, put that in there, we put that on there, and I think we're probably quite a lot of the way to getting it done. So that's upside down. Here's the holes. Okay, that needs to go on first. So that was this thing, this thing. Oh, stiffen it. That, and then that came up over it. Maybe if I can knock it on with the gear. Nope. Maybe I need to squeeze it. Yeah, that might work. Squeeze that, push that up, let it go in. Oh no, oh, I'm so nearly there. Balls. Oh, this is harder than it reasonably should be. Let's drink coffee. How do you do this? Someone? Needle nose pliers? Oh. Made such a good noise, but it's not actually done anything. Oh, oh. Ah, there we go. I could edit that down and just show snapping that on. That'd look lovely, wouldn't it? So that stops that coming off. Right, oh look, I've pushed the back of the motor off. Oh dear. I think I've got this 180 degrees out. Ah, bugger. I don't think it matters. I've decided it doesn't matter. You watch, it'll matter now. So that's the positive from the solenoid. So that means the solenoid bit must go at the top. That's that way. That bit goes to the front. Something. There we go. I mean, that's definitely... Oh no, maybe it's not different. Okay, let's go with it. So then it just depends if I can get that in there while it's assembled. I think I can. And on that basis, let's get the long bolts through it. This is the pivot for the fork. I'll grease up slightly. It's eccentric, so it allows you to adjust it. And I don't really understand why. So I'm going to try and put it back exactly where it was, which I think makes sense. Need to get the, difficult to show you, need to get the pivot of the fork in that little window there, and then get this through. I'll adjust that, possibly, once I've got this on, which is that, and that. Oh, that one's loose. Why is that loose? Shouldn't be loose. There we go. See if I can hook this into the forks. I can't remember whether it was even possible or if I have to take the adjuster out the forks again. Yeah. Oh no, I can do that. Hook the plunger into the forks first, and then assemble the rest of the solenoid on top. First job, I'm going to check the solenoid moves that and adjust that pivot. I don't really understand why it adjusts, but I need to adjust it, eh? Mind you, I put it back where it was. Maybe I'll just get a socket and just do that up. Do that. I've deliberately not connected the motor yet. Let's just connect. It should just be that. If I earth them. See that engages, and that's the same as it was before. Negative. Positive. And hopefully, if we connect positive to there, something will happen. Oh, that was scary. What was that about? Well, I think that's a working starter. Bolt it back on. Well, actually I'm going to tidy up because this is doing my head in. Here we are, back at the machine. Starter's got to go in there. 3 nuts. Assuming I've built this thing the right way up. Top one though, the stud comes through and touches that, so you have to put the stud partially through, get your nut on, screw it on, move the motor, screw it on, move the motor, screw it on, move the motor. So yeah, it's awkward, but let's get it in. This is awkward. Move the starter off. Oh no, oh no. There we go, we've started the nut. Right. Start. Glow plugs apparently. It turns over. and I have smoke. This is good. That doesn't feel like it's doing anything. Fuel pump might be knackered. The oil has come out of the vacuum pump everywhere. Okay. So that was amazing. It runs. I'm over the moon. The more astute amongst you will notice it's the other way around. It's because it's the next day. I had to go and do something and it started to rain really heavily, so I threw it in the garage. And when I say throw it in the garage, I mean argued with the weight of it to drag it into the garage because it weighs half a ton and have a little lip. So that was interesting. Right, start it again today. I faced it the other way around so the exhaust comes out of my garage, doesn't go into it like yesterday. It absolutely spewed oil out of this, which is the out sort of exhausty thing, I think, from the vacuum pump. Now, I don't know whether that's because it's just been sitting, whether it's got a problem. I don't really know. I'm hoping it's where it's been sitting, and the oil tank here, which is for the vacuum pump, has just kind of dribbled oil in over a decent amount of time. So there's a bit too much in there. So I fashioned a bungee cord and a block of wood and some rags to catch said oil. And I've screwed the battery on because the battery tried to escape. So let's give it another go. My plan is start it, check the voltage of the battery before I start it, check the voltage after it started and see if the charging circuit's working, because it does appear to have one. I think that's what that is. That glow plug location, I had a look, I can't find a glow plug. So I googled these engines, they don't have glow plugs, so I don't really know what that's about. That didn't seem to do anything, but I'm going to have another look today. I've taken it apart. I can't get into it. It's sealed. It doesn't appear to have a battery, so I don't really know how it works. Does it work off? I don't know. What does it do? I think it's just an hour meter. I thought it was an engine speed meter. But I think it's just an hour meter, and I wonder if it works off the vibrations of the engine. I don't know. Have to Google it. And then once it's running, I'm going to take this hose off, which is the vacuum pump hose, and see if it's doing anything. That's if I can't tell, obviously, from there if it's doing anything by putting something over it. But it's a bit big, I can't just put my hand over it. Because that should be the priming vacuum pump, so that would draw a vacuum inside all this, start getting the water flowing up, pump will take over, and then I assume there's something in here that will automatically disconnect this. But I've also got this, which seems to be spring-loaded. I don't really know what it does. I should really read the manual for that, but I'll do that once I know whether the bits and bobs work. So let's get on and see if the bits and bobs work. First job, let's check that battery. We've got 12.6 and a bit volts. We'll see if that goes up once we're started. Start her up, see what it does. Run. Well, I'm actually over the moon with that, albeit loud as something that I won't say. That was rattling on the floor, which was making the whole building feel like it was moving. It's heavy. I tried to show it was really hard. 14 volts on the battery, so the charging circuit's working. And when I put something light and floppy, oh dear, look, it's shifted itself all the way over here. Put some in plastic over there, tried to suck it in. That's a significant amount of suction over a large area for what is coming through here. But when I looked up the specs of this, that vacuum pump is 13.5 CFM, cubic feet a minute, which is really high. It's a pretty industrial bit of kit there. It's still absolutely spewing engine oil out. Unknown why. I think I'll leave that for now. I'll worry about that later. Maybe it's normal. Who knows? I think the battery's probably going to end up staying on it, so I haven't even done those battery clamps up. I'll do them up, put the box on. This thing looks like it's going up just by being jiggled. So that must be how the hour counter works. So I think we can confidently say this is 650 hours. Now I wonder if this is off something else. Now I'm looking at it, look. World's best welding. And stuff. I think that's off something else. Probably a dumper or whatever. And that is actually nonsense. Well, I'd love to show it working, so I think I'm gonna have to find a suction hose for it. Which is not cheap, but if I'm gonna sell it, I think it's worth the investment to buy a suction hose just to show it functioning. Yeah. Magnificent. I don't even think I'm gonna do any servicing on this. It was bought to sell it. I do not need a 4-inch dewatering pump. What am I going to dewater? That? This is designed for building sites to empty trenches and clear floodwater and stuff. I don't need it, so I will sell this. It's not worth any investment for me. I'll just do these minor jobs, prove it works. So I noticed that the battery box actually had grommets in the back of it. Cables were coming out the bottom through this gap. Now one grommet, one was missing. I've put another rubber grommet in. It was a standard 20mm. I run the battery cables through and then put them in there and then bolted it down with some M10 bolts. So that should stay where it should be now. I'm going to put some oil in here. It has a little chart on the side. Above 30, below 30 degrees C, 1030. Above 30 degrees C, 30 weight. This is the UK, so we'll be going with below 30. And I also noticed a bolt missing from here. Holds this belt guard on. And that looks like that's threaded, that boss. Doesn't quite line up, so I'm just going to put a crowbar in, bend that up, and screw a bolt in. This thing vibrates like anything, but it's a single cylinder diesel, would you expect? And everything's hard mounted to the chassis. Nothing's resiliently mounted here, which I think why it's had a few welding jobs on it. Oh, and these, I think, they're probably for a cover. I reckon this had some form of cover on it, whether it's been chopped off or whether that was all of it and that was just to support something. I don't know. It's got 3 of them that clearly aren't original. And it's also got, I guess it's a bit like a brake, a lowering leg, like a trailer leg. It's quite nice. I don't know what that is. Why is that there? Think I should be concerned about that? I'll think about that. I want to say, yeah, look, there's one on the other side too. I don't know what that's for. I'll have a quick look. It might be that if you want to split these, you thread a bolt into that and it will press against that. Oh, hang on, my finger's in the way. So actually on that basis, it should stop about there at the end of where the dirty threads are. It should stop hard. So let's try that. It does. Okay, so that's probably something to do with taking the pump off of that. Let's hope it doesn't need it. I don't really want to be taking that pump off. It looks like it probably weighs 250 kilos on its own. So pretty solid. Right, let's get that bolt fixed over the other side. So I'll fix the missing bolt. It's nice. Another little issue I've noticed, which would just be aggravating if someone came to buy this and tried it. So I think I need to bend that. I'll bend that. It doesn't look very straight at all, does it? Oh, that's stronger than it looks. I'm trying to do this one-handed while holding the phone, and I just want to go. Let's go in. Right. Does that now work? Yeah. Right, let's try that. Why doesn't that go down? Is it just a lump of crud? It's just a lump of crud. There we go. Ta-da! Still don't have a suction hose for it to test the actual pump. But I do have a Hoover hose. It's a big one, it's not a normal Hoover. Big industrial Hoover hose. And a dump truck full of water. So let's see if I can't duct tape the hose onto there, suck that out and just prove it works. That'd be nice. I'm a bit worried about the suction actually pulling this right in and into the impeller. So I'm going to try and use some string to keep it here, and then I'll seal it with duct tape. I know, it's so interesting. The vacuum pump is still pouring oil out, and even when it's just sitting, there's oil dripping out of the exhaust. So I think something's up with that. I wonder if it's meant to have some kind of valve that controls the oil flow, and the fact that I filled up the oil, it's just going down and running into that. I don't know. But it works. Let's leave it. So I'll put a hose on the end of the exhaust into a catch can. It'll do for now. Saves it spraying oil over everything I own. Let's start it and see if it works. Got me a Hoover hose in the dumper. Give it a go. little bit left. I think it was sucking a lot of air through that, and it's also quite a restriction for such a big pump. That's a 4-inch pump. That's a 3.5-inch connection coming out through a 2-inch connection. So it's kind of throttled down anyway. But yeah, pumped. Great success. See how much oil coming out. It doesn't actually look that bad. This works. This was up here when I got it. I've probably run it for 5 or 10 minutes and we're at 10 minutes. I think we're pretty much there, ready to sell it. I'm not going to look at fixing if the vacuum pump dripping oil out is actually a problem. I'm not going to look at fixing that. Because for all I know, I'll sell this and somebody will buy it and they'll say, oh, I've got another one, I only want it for spares or something, so it'd be a waste of money. Yeah, if it becomes an issue when I try and sell it, I'll do the pump. If it even needs doing, that might be totally normal. No, not a clue. But yeah, we have a running, starting, pumping machine. I'm happy with that. That was a nice little auction purchase, that. Now I've shut it down, something I should do is drain off the any water that's inside. Okay, nothing. And there's one down the bottom there as well. Focus, there we go. There's one right down the bottom that I'll open. There we go. So I sold the pump. I sold it pretty quickly. I put it on eBay and Marketplace and had a little bit of interest, but then I got a cheeky offer on eBay from someone. But to be fair, little tip for you, they had a really good reason for making the cheeky offer. They said they don't make bits for him anymore and he wanted it for spares for his, which I said earlier in the video, didn't I? I bet someone just wants it for spares. Grumpy. Yeah, and so I did a quick look and he was right. So worth putting a little message in your offer when you make an offer on eBay. Because I did look and I agreed with him, so I sold it to him for a decent amount of money. For me, a very good offer for him, and yeah, it's gone. So she's grumpy about. So yeah, one pump sold, and on to the next project. Thanks for watching. See you next time.